Well, it appears that Labrynth happened to get in the way of the competition today. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that next play button so you guys don't miss out on more content. So we were able to dive back into the world of Next Play this week. And Next Play always has some interesting challengers within the meta. And I gotta tell you, seeing 6 Dracotail being the heaviest representative out of this is personally interesting. Dracotail's been, even with the spell card limited to 1, this deck has still remained one of the bigger challengers within the meta. We also do see here that Yummy is continuing on with its domination, and honestly, I'm not surprised to see this at this point. They still have Herald, they still have access to, 2 of the Link monster, but you gotta remember, if they were to remove some of those, Herald from the deck, then the deck kind of struggles. They also have Borreload Savage in the OCG, so that's another problem. Malice was another big talk about this event. Malice really came out of the woodwork here, and I think really pushed some of this competition this week for this top cut. It actually was one of the major challengers for this. We also had 2 Radiant Typhoon, which has been pretty common to see. We also have 2 Fallen of Albaz. We also had 2 Mitsurugi. And of course, 2 Exosister. We also have Elven Notes as a 1-of. Elven Notes has unfortunately been kind of fading off into the background, which has been really sad because I think that deck was actually kind of a fun little challenger. We also had White Forest still doing very good. We also have Magical Musketeer. Now, what's actually interesting about this is the new Link 1, or excuse me, the new Link 2 is actually legal now. It just came out of the manga promo last week, and it's actually a big facilitator of some of the cool little combo you can do. And remember, Link 1 into Link 1 through the Fiendsmith combo. It's been kind of crazy just to kind of keep track of that. I do see that we also had Memento. We also had Labrynth. Of course, we had Chimera good stuff. And then there's this Dark Magician Girl pile here. Now, I'll talk more about this Dark Magician Girl pile later in the video, but what I can tell you about this is it is a pile of cards, man. It is so hilarious to see the idea that they brought to the table for this event, and you really do love to see it. Now, our top cut. We had a pretty interesting conversion rate here, actually. Dracotail actually fell off pretty hard. We're down to 2 of them within the top cut now, actually moving along pretty well for this, which is actually kind of decent. We lost 4, but we still have 2, maintaining a decent number. We also had 2 of the Yummy variants. So your standard meta was pretty representative here, which is kind of nice. We also had a Mitsurugi challenger. Now, from your conversion rate to here, Mitsurugi still remains one of these decks that can just infinitely grind through the meta competition, and it's crazy to see. Now, also, your Malice challenger found their way into this top cut. Only 1 of them made it, which is such a harsh falling off for this. But that Malice player carried it on home as they actually ended up winning the event, which is so cool. And then we have this Labrynth challenger too, which we'll talk more about too, because we actually do have the Labrynth list for once in our life. We actually get to see, what was going on inside of their head. They didn't make top 4, but they did actually make their way into top 8, which is actually kind of refreshing. So, your top cut looks pretty solid here. So let's pass on over to those deck lists. So actually winning our event is none other than Malice. Now, this Malice player was dipping into triple Droll and Lockbird. We had triple Dominance in here. We also had 1 of each of the Bestials, which I feel like is kind of a common occurrence at this point, because you need those Bestials to be your extenders, but also OCG still has access to Splash Mage, which makes this deck a lot better. I also see that we are playing the Transcode Talker as well to get the Revive, which is actually not bad. We still are playing. Allure is still limited to 1 in the OCG, so we still see that, they're making the best for what they can for that situation, which is hilarious to see. And of course, most of everything else that I feel like this deck kind of brings to the table is pretty normal. I mean, your Malice numbers aren't necessarily the greatest, but I mean, like Allied Code Talker, citing the Shifter, Red Reboot to clear up anything. I can understand why this deck was able to do very, very well. Next up here, we have Draco Tail. Now, this Draco Tail variant is going to be playing the new branded stuff, because why would you not want to be playing the new branded in white? Because its entire job is just to be some like gas extenders, just to be able to get the Ecclesia out, and then of course you get access to the Synchro, and then you're just kind of able to toggle through into an Albaz, Contact Fuse, make the stronger new Albaz. It takes 3 monsters to make, which is very, very strong. I also do see, for what it feels like for majority of the options that this deck has, I think most of this is just answering a lot of the problems. Obviously, you're only playing one of the Fallen and the Virtuous, one Branded Fusion, one of each of the trap cards. You gotta thank the OCG for still being locked behind one Branded Fusion, but to be fair, the new support for that might make it a little bit dangerous to allow those particular cards to run around. So, I don't know. This is, pretty standard, I feel like, at this point. Next up here, we have good old Mitsurugi, and of course this Mitsurugi list is bringing one Manju to the table. Have we really reached the point with this deck that having a one of Manju is just good enough? Because, I mean, I guess it does get you into Habagiri, and its job is also to eat a hand trap, which actually isn't terrible when you think about the tools that the deck necessarily has going for it. And of course, I mean, Japan still has King of the Feral Imps, so I mean, you get those 2 bodies on the field anyway. You're essentially able to get any of the tool components that you actually are going to need anyway. So you've got most of what you kind of want to have behind the wheels of this deck, and I don't think that's necessarily a problem. As you also see, I mean, they have Gallon Granite, they have the rank up stuff as well. This deck does particularly have excess cards to use to make the bigger Utopia, so interesting. Next up here, we have the power of Labrynth. And honestly, I'm kind of interested in this list. Labrynth with the Power Sing Stone has been the way you've kind of had to gravitate towards this list. You might say, oh, hey, maybe it's not necessarily the most consistent, but I think, honestly, having access to that Power Sing Stone acting as that skill drain that you can navigate and put pressure on your opponent for is spectacular, man. You really have to take advantage of that level of stuff. We are also playing 2 Pot of Extrav in here, which is nice. You also do see the triple Destructive Juror Mechanic, but we are also going with the triple transaction rollback. And of course, you do get to see the Dark Barrier statue down here, also taking the wheel for this deck. So, a lot of little scary things to be seeing with this, that's for sure. And then we have the challenger for Chimera Fiendsmith. I was actually really happy to find that we have this list. This gives you a little bit of an idea of how this deck is still navigating. I see that this build has actually gone for the triple crown here, which is kind of cool. We're also side decking a lot of Shaddoll power down here. I actually really appreciate the fact that this deck is making use of the Shaddoll package here to be able to put that pressure on your opponent, being able to mill down an Earth and the Shaddoll monster and make all that advantage off of one Shaddoll fusion does end up being incredibly strong for this deck. So if you are looking at wanting to play something like this, once we do get that new Shaddoll monster, it really does help open up the consistency for what this deck is aiming to actually kind of put up on some of its M-board pressure, and it's really, really good. Our Dark Magician Girl deck. So this was a funny haha, give and take, Nightmare Wheel, Forbidden Crown. The whole point of this deck was to basically use Nightmare Wheel to actually win the game. And to my knowledge, Stool has actually won a couple of their 2 out of 3 games, which was kind of interesting. It's kind of cool to see we're also using Creature Swap in here to take things away from the opponent. But I have never quite seen such a bold strategy like this in the modern era times. Most people would just look at this and walk away from it, but I think that this is the kind of exploratory fun that players like to actually have in this game. And I gotta give it to them, man. This definitely took me by surprise. So what do you guys think? Please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I will see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.